Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No, thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. By using our link, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. So, Naz, as a therapist on BetterHelp, what has your experience been like?
I've been doing it since January 2021, and it's been really fun and exciting. I've been able to reach clients all over the United States and the world. I've had good relationships. I've had folks that I've had for a couple months and a good handful where I've had for almost 2 years now. So it's magnificent. I've enjoyed my time and my clients. I love them.
Awesome. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel the most comfortable. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/DSP or choose Different Spectrums podcast during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Hey everybody, we back again.
We're back. I went live. Welcome, welcome.
I'm Spencer. Of course, we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
Dr. Pooh Bear Naz. You're friendly. You're friendly bear. Wait a minute.
Going to certain clubs. Yes, yes, you are.
You're friendly bear.
Pooh Bear, how you doing? Anyways, remember, don't take us too seriously.
Or do. It's completely up to you. Completely up to you.
Don't forget to round those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, before we get into it, we have a special guest for the show today. She is a psychotherapist as well as a bibliotherapist, also an author with her new book titled Bibliotherapy in the Bronx, coming out April 2025. Welcome to the show, Emily Rumble. How are you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk all things Winnie the Pooh, mental health. I can't wait to reminisce with you all. I see Dr. Naz has Pooh in the corner without honey. So we got to talk about the clinical implications of that, Dr. Naz. But all in all, I'm ready to get in with y'all.
Awesome. Yeah, we're happy to have you. And it's about to be a great show.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the clip, go check out BetterHelp. BetterHelp. We can get 10% off your first month of therapy if you use our code DSP or use the link betterhelp.com/DSP. Go do it. You can get 10% off your first month of therapy. Pretty good deal. And also it helps, we're trying to do a lot more with sponsorships that are going to be able to help.
Impactful.
Yes, they're going to be a lot more impactful for our people audience of the show. So please go check out BetterHelp. Try it out. See if it's for you. If not, that's fine too. So,
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Naz, anything before we get into the show?
We got a lot of stuff coming up. So, right, you brought this topic up. We got a bunch of different things: depression, community, friendship, love, compassion, humor. We got some annoying friends in there with some ADHD, maybe a little autism. We're gonna talk about the autism today. I'm gonna get it in.
What?
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to have this children's book, also movie. I think it's really nice to finally bring in a therapist that focuses more on these books. So kind of how like we do the visuals in the movies, you're doing the same thing but bringing in literature. And this is actually how my mentor and therapist worked with me. I didn't have money, so she was my professor, and she was like, "Come in my office hours." I'm bringing in my paper. She's like, "Come on, babe, read. I'm not gonna do the full voice, but she was saying, I ain't getting canceled. When she read this chapter, and I'm like, it's a fucking kid's book. And then I'd read it, and she's like, "What does that mean to you?" I was like, "I don't know." And then she'd say some stuff, and I just start crying. I was like, "I just came here to get my paper read. I don't understand. I don't. Why are you loving me? I don't get it."
I love it.
Oh, it was wonderful. Shout out Professor Owens, still teaching classes, still protesting, still doing her thing at a very mature age. I'm just going to say that, very mature age. Still doing her thing. All right.
So she was using bibliotherapy as your academic advisor.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, she's my professor, mentor. And 100%. She was one of the baddest therapists I've ever met. Magnificent story of Black woman growing up in Michigan in the UP, the only Black family in the town when she was there. A lot of weird stuff that she had to go through her and her family. Became an officer, only woman on the force, only Black woman on the force. Didn't get a bachelor's degree, got 2 master's degrees from the University of Michigan, became a therapist. She's like fun, like, this is one of the craziest humans you'll ever meet. Yeah, she was like a mom to me when I needed one in graduate school. But yeah, she's the reason why I use books now in sessions. And I just gave away one Dr. Seuss book for my graduating seniors. Or like, right, I give them usually the Seussisms book because that's the one that my mentors gave me. And but
the place you'll go.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And then the next one I'm giving out, I'm probably gonna have to buy a couple copies, is The Giving Tree, because I got a couple people pleasers that need to make sure they remember what I taught them, right? And so The Giving Tree is where we're going.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I use books too. I use comics, whatever I can do, because working with folks that are on the spectrum, it ain't just words. The word stuff doesn't work all the time.
Right.
So I'm excited to pick your brain. Right, someone that actually like does this, and this is like their thing. Let's do this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
I love that Professor Owens in her office. Am I saying
whoop whoop?
Wait, you were supposed to say whoop whoop, but then you started talking. So go finish the talk and then say whoop whoop.
My bad. Okay. I love that she made you read out loud to her in the office, but also whoop whoop.
Yeah, she made me read in the office. I'm like, I'm dyslexic as shit. I was like, I'm not reading this out loud.
Read this. Read this, child who can't read. Yeah, no. I don't want to.
I hate it. I'm just stuttering.
Did she know? Oh, okay.
What'd you say? Is she what?
So she knew that you had challenges. She knew you had challenges with reading when she asked.
She does the reading stuff with everyone. She just knew I had challenges because she was grading my papers, and she's like, "This boy's mentally challenged."
And she wanted you to still try.
Oh my God!
Because bibliotherapy, it could be prescriptive or interactive. So I love that she made it interactive because I think, for the emotions to get elicited and to be meaningful in the relationship, that interactive piece is super important. So for you to be stuttering through it,
yeah, she was very interactive.
Professor Owens. I need to connect with her.
Well, I'll send you her information just so you can see the person she is. I was also terrified of her like every second. Like, she gave me a hug when I graduated and I walked off the stage. She gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. When I'm walking off the stage, I literally blanked out of where I was at. I walked right off the middle of the stage. Everyone is like, "Is Nas drunk?" And I was like, "I don't even know where I'm at right now."
I don't know.
All right.
Let's get into the show.
Let's get into the show, man.
Honey. Enough of this infernal folderol. Look, the thing to do is we write a notice promising a large something to anyone who finds a replacement tail for Eeyore. Is that clear?
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful plan, Owl.
Excellent. Now, we shall get Christopher Robin to write out the notices, and we'll put them up all over the forest.
Here you are, Pooh. Oh, and make sure everyone can see them.
Oh, I will, Christopher.
Come one, come two, come all. Everyone heed the call. There's a very important thing to do. Drop what you're doing and bum. Bumpity, bumpity, bum. There's a very important thing to do. It's time to gather round. The work has just begun. And when it's done, then you'll have found that you have had some fun with a monumentous, consequentious, very important thing to do.
There we are. And now I shall return to... Oh, hello, balloon.
I probably deserved that.
Oops, look who it is. Let me get off your back. There we go. You know, I thought you was a paxton until I found out you wasn't. What are you doing out here anyways?
Too slow. Got left behind.
Left behind? Well, that's a horrendous thing to do to a guy.
No matter. Sure would like to help Christopher Robin, but I can't.
Buddy, where do you think you're going? You and me are gonna catch that paxton together.
Thanks, but I...
Just the spirit. Here we go. Pouncy, pouncy, pounce. You and me. Oh, yeah. Look out, paxton. Okay, we're back. Look at us pounce. I'm alone. Okay. Whew. Buddy, if you're gonna pounce, you got to have some bounce. We just need to get you Tiggerized. Gonna fix you up. By the time we're through, I'll be Tigger 1, you'll be Tigger 2. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Gonna be two pals hunting in the woods. Gonna show that Baxton we got the goods. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Well, I'm not sure.
Stop that gloomy rumination. All you need is a little bit of Tiggerization.
Wait.
Why wait? Don't you see it's gonna be great? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Well, you're looking great, Tigger 2. Now, you gotta learn to bounce like a Tigger. When you learn to bounce, you should take it slow. So I want you to keep your bounce slow. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Whoa!
If you hear...
All by myself. Through there?
Yes, Piglet. Through a dark wood fraught with peril, on a mission of life or death. It is a task of great complexity, but I have full confidence that you shall return victorious and rescue us from the abyss. Go forth, Piglet, and we shall await your return, for weeks if necessary.
Owl?
What?
I can't believe how wonderful that speech was.
I can't either.
Move me to tears. Sorry, Pooh.
Ever have one of those days where you just can't win or...
Yep. I know how you feel.
Oh, yes. I simply must find some honey.
As Pooh continued searching, he got hungrier
Oh,
and hungrier
yes, Tommy, I know.
and hungrier
Oh,
until he found himself at Owl's house.
Well, stone the crows if it isn't Pooh Bear.
hello, Owl.
Well, congratulate me.
For what?
I have achieved completion of my autobiographical treatise.
Oh, was it painful?
No. My memoirs are finished.
Oh,
Dash it all, Pooh. Why do you keep staring at that bell rope?
because it reminds me of something. And that reminds me of another something. Oh, perhaps I could borrow some honey. Just a taste, a drop, perhaps. A small lick, I should think.
My boy, I shall do better than that. Not only will I beckon you to my table, but as we feast, I shall treat you to an excerpt from chapter 127, which tells the gripping tale of how only a few days ago I found that very handsome bell rope that you were admiring just hanging over a thistle bush.
Somebody did want it, Owl.
Really? Who?
Eeyore. My dear friend Eeyore. He was fond of it, you see.
Fond of it?
Attached to it.
Attached? Oh. Yes. Yes. And I was just keeping it safe for him. Well, there you are. And you can tell him he's welcome.
Yes, Owl. And thank you very much.
I say, Pooh, what about the honey?
Some other time, perhaps.
Ignoring his tummy's desperate pleas, Pooh went directly to Christopher Robbins.
Tail. Nail. Hammer. So what do you think, Eeyore?
I'll test it out. Seems about the right length. Pink bow's a nice touch. Swish is real good, too.
So are you happy, Eeyore?
No.
Oh.
But I sure do like this new tail.
Oh.
Thank you, Pooh.
And now I have a surprise for you, Pooh.
I do like surprises.
Okay, open your eyes.
Oh, they're open, Christopher.
No, silly. Put your arms down.
Oh.
Congratulations, Pooh. You win the grand prize.
It's Pooh. It's Pooh. Who wins the honey pot? You're the winner of the prize.
I really can't believe my eyes.
Who gets the honey? Honey, 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 honey.
Here you go, Pooh.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you all ever so much.
Everything is honey, everything is good. Everyone is happy in the 100-acre wood. A happy ending for a good to eat. Yes, everything is honey, and life is very sweet.
You know, Pooh, you did a very important thing today.
I did.
Well, yes. Instead of thinking of your tummy, you thought of your friend.
Oh, thank you, Christopher Robin. And now, I don't think I shall be hungry again for a good long while. No bother.
Silly old bear.
Hey everyone, I wanted to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Two Nerds Candle Company. Not only do they have great products, but they are also giving back to a great cause. You can tell that they take a lot of pride in making their candles. My favorite is Spock's Monday Coffee. They are also donating 10% annually to support Women in STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. You can use our code DSP or go to our link tree to get 20% off your entire order. We think that this company is great, and we think you will too. So go check them out. All right, we back again.
We back and we're live. Just like my childhood trauma of not being able to read, and now we're talking about books. So
I'm gonna make this brown child with dyslexia read.
I remember when they used to make us read in like middle school, and the teachers would pick on me. Not only I'm like stuttering through it, but also my voice is changing and cracking, and it's like, ah.
Like you don't want to laugh, but you're like,
yeah, everyone just like Reading in class. Hated it. All right, let's get into the show. I'm sorry.
Reading. All right. So before we get into it, yes, we are doing Winnie the Pooh. And before we get to our guest, there are some disorders that the characters are supposedly also representing in the show and movies. And I say, maybe because the author of the books died in 1956. So either they might have been ahead of their time with like kind of like the characterizations of these characters, or it was just like a crapshoot, and they were just like, yeah, we just want to have different types of characters and animals in the show, and this is how they are. So just putting it out there, this is not a proven thing, but they do have characteristics of these disorders.
There
So
you go.
some of them would be Winnie the Pooh would be having an eating disorder. As we saw in the last clip.
Fat shaming. We start right off with fat shaming. Jesus Christ.
In a vat of money. I've never seen that.
The fact that he drowns himself in it.
Yeah. He's just like, goodbye, world. Take me. So also he might have ADHD as well.
Yeah.
Piglet, generalized anxiety disorder. Owl dyslexia, also short-term memory loss. Tigger, ADHD, big surprise there. Panga, social anxiety disorder. Even though I don't think she was in any of the clips that we actually had in there, but yeah. And then the little one, Rue, autism. In there, Rabbit, OCD. Eeyore, depressive disorder, and then they also say that Christopher Robin has schizophrenia. So lots of things in there.
There's one that you didn't say that I hear a lot, which is owl having narcissistic personality disorder.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's because he's a man. It's because he's a man. That's we're genderizing this here. I'm not going to take us. I'm joking. No, that's a good one.
Man with confidence.
A man with confidence.
A narcissist. That's what we call him.
Wait a minute. What was the one?
It's funny though, because to your point, we don't know what the author was thinking and that she had the intention of these diagnoses being attributed. But I think when we're reading, we're projecting. And I think that's part of the cathartic experience we have while we're reading and connecting to books and stories and characters. And so I love this because this is what my clients do in bibliotherapy, right? Like they'll say, oh, Owl reminds me of my narcissistic ass ex who, made everything about him and who just everything had to be about him feeling superior, etc. And I love that because I feel like that's part of what makes engaging with these stories bibliotherapeutic. So these projections, like I would wonder who prescribed these characters these things and why, and what were their experiences like with people who maybe struggled with some of these symptoms.
There you go.
Totally.
It's
like, yeah, you old owl looking ass can't even read.
You think you do shit, but
Somehow
you can't read.
300 memoir.
Yeah, the chapter 127.
Oh my goodness!
No.
I hope those are short chapters.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, "That's autism."
Tism.
Let's talk about how we think all narcissists are. How we're like, oh, they're narcissists. I'm like, they got the tism. So they like talking about themselves, detailed, and they keep going. I'm like, I've been there.
True.
But like, Nas, shut up.
Yeah.
They're assholes, Nas. They're assholes.
No, right? I just can't tell sometimes when I'm not talking too much. Besides the point.
Anyways, all right. So, Emily, M, as it says in the back right over there. So you're a psychotherapist. Also, how did you get into bibliotherapy, and how has it kind of been for you?
Yeah, I was an intern at a day treatment facility for adults with schizophrenia. It was my first year internship in social work school and graduate school at Smith. And I needed to form a group for socialization purposes. And when I said I would do a poetry group, everybody laughed at me because they were like, Emily, how are you going to do poetry therapy with a group of folks who are, experiencing depersonalization, a break from reality? That doesn't seem like it's really going to work. And I was like, well, first of all, we had a client who was a painter, and they would buy him paint and they would buy him canvases. And I'm like, we're already incorporating the creative arts therapies with this client. Why can't we try and just see how this lands with other clients? You're asking me to do a group. What do I know best? Literature and poetry. And these particular clients were a diverse group in that they were mostly Black and Latinx. Many of them had been former b-boys, graffiti artists, street artists. So I'm like, this isn't new. Like spoken word in the Bronx, hip hop in the Bronx. Like this is all an aspect of poetry therapy and connecting to literature. So let's give it a try. So they said, okay, we're going to let you do your thing. I started enrolling for my group. I started, I think I started with E.B. White, actually. And my clients loved group. They were coming every week. They were writing their own poetry. They would recite their own poetry in group. And it got to a point where more and more clients were inquiring about, hey, how can we get into Emily's poetry therapy group? So I think it surprised the director of the program and my clinical supervisor, because she was like, girl, I don't know what you're doing, but it's working and you're actually getting folks to connect. And, it started off when I got there, folks would be in the milieu in the morning, maybe having like a cup of coffee or eating their breakfast, but nobody was really talking to one another. And so after poetry group, folks started to build authentic friendships and connections. And now we see people like having their cafecito together and talking about back in the day. And it was just such a beautiful way that we created community in that therapy group that sort of like spread out into the daily life of the day treatment facility. And people started writing, and eventually we started having folks perform their poetry in the milieu. And it was just super dope. So that's really what got me started. And it was my clinical supervisor who was like, I don't know how you train to become a poetry therapist or bibliotherapist, but whatever you have to do, do it, because this is your gift. So I'm grateful she planted that seed.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you find it challenging at all because especially today, or have you seen like an uptick in people that really are trying to read more books than you have seen in like the past years? Or has it been kind of steadily kind of been the same throughout? Because I know people who are like, yeah, I'm starting to read books now instead of just watching TV or watching movies and stuff like that, which, you know, it's a great way to also, I think watching movies and shows is also a great way to connect with characters, but sometimes a lot more people feel like it's a lot more connection when you read it instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think there's been an uptick, and I attribute a lot of this to the neurodiversity movement and awareness being spread about neurodiversity. I think that there's more conversations happening in book spaces that are honoring the different ways that we each read, right? Like audiobooks are books, period. To think otherwise is extremely ableist. And I feel like now that people are seeing, like, oh, wait a minute, not only is reading cool, but like there's this person that I think is really cool or maybe really attractive, or maybe I want to be their friend, and they're sharing books and they're sharing about this particular book that I also like. Like, this is a vibe. So how can I tap into that community and be a part of what's going on? And we're seeing this, in so many different ways. Bookstagram, book talk. I just hosted a bibliotherapy session at a book retreat that was specifically geared towards getting a group of readers together. We went to Atlanta. We had Kennedy Ryan come to meet the readers, and I facilitated a whole bibliotherapy session in person around her book before I let go. So just the idea that you could come, not only have a discussion with an author, get your book signed, but also benefit from group bibliotherapy where we're processing themes like grief, loss, what happens when you've had like a major transition in your life and there's an aspect of yourself that you want to reclaim. Like, we got pretty deep, and it was all because we love Kennedy Ryan and we love reading Black romance. And so here I am, a licensed clinical social worker, coming in and saying, you know what, we're going to make this a therapeutic space, and we're going to make sure that with Kennedy here, we leverage this opportunity for us all to bond and heal together in community. So there's a lot of really dope things bubbling up in book communities. And I also think with the banning of books, that's gotten so it's gotten to the point now where you have librarians getting arrested, losing their jobs. Like book banning has become the go-to. And I'm grateful to be in New York City because even though we do have that issue, it's less of an issue here. But I think in a lot of other states, Texas, Florida, right? Like it's insane. So people are really starting to raise their awareness and their consciousness around like, why are books being banned? And why are only books that censor marginalized experiences being targeted? And so I think there is like this way that there's this wave of awareness that's been happening, especially for the younger generation around like, no, we're not, this can't continue and we're going to fight back. And so people are really like becoming aware, becoming activated and becoming readers. And I love that.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Amazing.
All about free speech in America, all about free speech until the white people got to read it, you know, then it's
throughout all the history
go.
of time. It's never been a good sign when they start burning or banning books. It's never a good sign.
Never.
I'm just like,
history repeats itself, right?
We're the last people to do that. I don't know.
Man, God forbid we got some books in there that talk about different things or different identities or different stories. Jesus.
Yeah.
It sucks that people are going through that. I also wanted to mention, right, and I'm not going to overgeneralize, but I'm going to do a little. You know, you got a lot of folks that are on the spectrum that are these librarians too. And a lot of them are kicking ass and doing their thing. And we're like, no, this is bullshit because things might be a little black and white for us. We're like, no. So some of those folks getting arrested, getting in trouble, right? They're sticking by their morals, values, and ethics as a human, as a person, but also as a librarian. The thing that they're supposed to do is to teach these, you know, these kids. So shout out to all of them and sticking to their morals, to whatever state you're in. You know, some of these states like Florida, Indiana, Texas. I know in Indiana we've banned a lot of books recently. So shout out to all y'all doing your thing. And thank you for mentioning that audiobooks are books, because there's people engaging and reading with these things in different ways. And right, even with me, you know, reading that book as ADHD and dyslexia is tough. But I can get through it. It just takes me a minute, and then I get into the groove, but it takes me a minute. So the audiobooks, I know a lot of my clients love them. And the neurochemistry and the things that are firing, the dopamine, the serotonin, right? You're talking about massive engagement, talking about healing and wellness. Also some introspection and some identifying things is going on. But to me, it's just the neurochemical processing that's going on and making them feel better. So continue to read, continue to listen, continue to watch.
Thank you for saying that, because Susan Elderkin is married. She's a bibliotherapist and an author from the UK. Her husband is a neuroscientist. And she had him conduct a study on her while she was reading, because she thought, while I'm reading, my body must be super calm. And she found the opposite, that when she's reading, there were all these, everything was just sort of like activated. And the research that her husband pretty much concluded was that when we're reading, we're actually being transported, physically being transported. Our nervous system experiences what we're reading as if we're actually living the book. And I thought that was so neat, because I spend a lot of time asking my clients these kinds of questions, like, are you a visual reader? Are you a kinesthetic reader? How do we interact and engage with text in a way that is therapeutic for us? Because a lot of times we just read. We're not thinking about these things consciously. But even for some of us who are visual, like, I prefer to read a book than to watch a TV show, because I like the fact that it plays out in my mind the way that I want to see it, right? I value movies and TV shows, but the way that my mind works, I'm extremely visual. So even asking, and my therapist is also someone who specializes in bibliotherapy. I've been working with her for 10 years. She was the first person to ask me, when you're reading, let's talk about what you see. Do you see the pictures in color or in black and white? I had never thought about that before. I see everything in color. And so even just thinking now, after working with her, as I'm reading, is it neon color? Is it bland? Is it matte? Like, why do I see certain tones in certain ways based on how I'm engaging with the text, or based on the emotion that the text is eliciting in me, right? Like, these are all very specific to who we are, our life story, the archetypal things that arise for us while we're engaging with stories. And so it's all very fascinating. Neuroscience is at the heart of this, absolutely.
It is. For me, it's it's not, I just don't just see the images. It's like I completely dissociate and then I'm transported into it. So I'm actually watching it inside the movies. I'm actually in it. And when I'm doing therapy, I'm actually in their story. I'm looking at them, but when I look away, like I'm in the story. So when they get into their experiences, I really know and I can feel what's going on because now I'm experiencing it myself, which to me is magnificent, being deeply empathetic and having this visual mind, this autistic mind, until it gets into the trauma stories. And then it gets a little weird for me.
Yeah.
But that's my thing is, and I didn't even know this was a thing. And then I saw this movie. This is going to sound super weird. This show. It's the first time I saw a character. I'm like, he acts like me. It's the autistic detective in the TV series Hannibal.
Oh my God.
Wow. I didn't know that he was autistic.
Oh, he's definitely autistic as hell, but not, so I'm not Hannibal, even though I like Hannibal in that show,
Sure, buddy.
Hannibal in that show is so attractive in that show. My God.
Would you like some Chianti?
But still, the way he visualizes things and then puts it together, it's like all these other shows, The Mentalist and all that, they're all visualizing. Besides the point. That's when I first realized that.
I love The Mentalist.
Yeah. That's when you realize that you are like someone else. I'll kick it back to Spence. What else you got for the boss?
Yeah, I'm curious to what does a session look like for you when you do your bibliotherapy? Because is it more of like a group situation? Can you do one-on-ones? I'm kind of curious what it kind of looks like for somebody kind of either just starting or somebody just, as you're already working clients.
Yeah, that's a great question. So bibliotherapy could be prescriptive or interactive, and therapists use bibliotherapy in this way all the time. And maybe, they're not calling it that, but that's what it is. So a therapist might recommend a book to a client, and that would be prescriptive, right? Your therapist is saying, hey, I think you'd really enjoy this book, or I think this book might provide more insight or guidance, and you can choose whether or not you want to read the book your therapist recommends. And then there's interactive bibliotherapy, which is actually reading the book together in the session. And that could be really valuable. So I counsel a lot of readers, like people who are voracious readers, who are reading all the time. Their books come up in session all the time, just through regular talk therapy. And I'll say, hey, why don't bring the book in, let's talk about it. Or if there's a scene that really activated a client, let's read the scene together and see how we can incorporate this into our work to help you make some meaningful connections. Because I believe that whenever there's an emotion elicited, there's something underneath it that we can use. And so that's really what that looks like with my traditional therapy, like talk therapy clients. These are people I've been working with for 5+ years. Sometimes we use books, we incorporate writing poetry or reading it into therapy. Sometimes we don't, right? Depending on the modality that works best for them and what they need. And then there's clients who only book me for bibliotherapy. So if you go to my website, you can book me at any time for a virtual 50-minute bibliotherapy session. Upon booking, you're going to get a reading intake that I'm going to ask you to fill out. I'm going to ask you, why you booked me, a bunch of questions about you as a reader. What do you like to read and why? And then what are some themes coming up in your life? Once I read your intake, I'm going to do what a tarot card reader does. It's kind of like divination, but I do literature divination. So I'm going to bring it to my altar and I'm going to start pulling from literature based on what you shared with me about you as a reader. So let's say your favorite book back in the day in high school was Catcher in the Rye. You're telling me a little bit about yourself. If Catcher in the Rye was your favorite book in high school, I can kind of like glean some things about who you were in high school, right? And so based on that intake, I'm going to pull some literature and then I'm going to curate a PowerPoint presentation of 10 slides. And then I'm going to use that PowerPoint presentation to facilitate a therapeutic discussion with you that I call a bibliotherapy session. And what's really fascinating about this, and I didn't realize until I started marketing my services, how spiritual my approach is, because there are bibliotherapists that just say, hey, you need books to process depression, here's a list. You need books to process, a life transition, here are some books. I don't work that way. I'm very much like, my reading intake is the heart of my work because I really want to understand who you are today and what question you're sitting with in this moment. Because I believe that the right book at the right time is the medicine, right? If you're a reader, you're reading anyway, whether you come to see me as a therapist or not. So I really want to make it meaningful. And I've had clients during our bibliotherapy sessions that I've never met a day in my life, but during or after my session, they're in tears because they're like, oh my God, Emily, you pulled so much literature around parent loss. How did you know I lost my mother last month? And I'll be like, whoa, I didn't know that. But I'll explain to them how, based on your intake and based on you as a reader, you know, I'll take your intake to my altar, I'll say a little prayer, and then I'll just start pulling from literature. And it's always really eye-opening to me when people are like, whoa, like this really resonated. Because I deeply believe, I'm not religious at all, but I'm deeply spiritual. I was raised by my grandmother, went to church with her 6 days a week, right? Like so much of my spiritual journey as an adult now has been reclaiming ancestral ways of engaging with text, with bibliomancy, with just divination and the medicine that we have as African American, Puerto Rican, just people of the diaspora. And I see this like play out in my work all the time, and it's really meaningful and beautiful. So, and it doesn't always happen, but when it does, I'm like, okay, you know, we're onto something here. So I'm excited about my book because I feel like I get asked a lot this question about like, how do I do what I do? And I'm just, now I can just say, read my book.
Okay.
Read my book and then make it your own, you know?
Stop asking.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't really tell you. I'm just doing what I do. But you can maybe like make it your own. And I love to see that more therapists now are like tuning in. Like I've had therapists book me for consultation and they want to learn more about like how to make bibliotherapy their own and their unique practice. And more therapists are doing group work. And I do group bibliotherapy. So I usually have like one group that I'll do each summer where we'll pick a text and we'll do like a group therapy model based on a book. And that's usually like a 4 to 6 week process. But it really just depends. Those are some ways that I do it.
Awesome. Real quick.
And with interactive bibliotherapy, oh, go ahead.
Because I got to add our flavor in here now. Spence,
let's do it.
I need you to think about what book would you say that's your book that you would have her like
Green Eggs and Ham.
And
did you play with a lot of coloring as a child?
No, I hated green eggs and I hated eggs and ham.
So autistic. So autistic.
What's happening here? And then they brought in eggs and ham. Like, you can die. And I was like, I'm not eating that shit.
That book traumatized him.
Fuck that.
Oh, no. Are you both autistic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Couldn't tell.
No, well, what's crazy, I didn't suspect that I might be until my son was diagnosed. And it was my son's neurologist that he signed me up for this study at Mount Sinai. And I did it because I'm thinking like free therapy for my son. But what came out of that process is that I am most definitely on the spectrum. So I've been processing that for myself too, because I'm like, this makes so much fucking sense. Like, and so I'm learning so much about autism, about my unique presentation of autism. And I'm like, and I haven't shared this like, you know, on my socials and stuff, because I'm still processing it and I'm still learning. But yeah, all that to say, like, I'm just so grateful to be in community with y'all because I'm looking back on my childhood and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well,
nobody believed me that my son was.
Oh, I was getting ready to let you know at the end of this, you autistic as hell. So, I can see the
gun ready to go.
I can see the books and the colors and the book, and I can. I'm interpreting. I'm like, you're autistic as shit.
Autism.
Yeah. I feel
the easy solution.
Thank you.
And thank you. And Spence knows, I got, he's Afro-Latina and autistic, So I'm like, hold up now.
You know?
Where you at?
You get divorced anytime soon,
you
just
trying to move?
Yeah.
You trying to go to Michigan?
Can move in with my family. I'm joking.
Y'all are a trip.
I'm sorry.
I feel seen.
No, you're not.
Thank you. I feel accepted and I feel loved and I feel seen. I appreciate that. Because listen, don't even get me started on the whole Amanda Seals Club Shay Shay interview because the conversation on self-diagnosis right now is like at the front of our minds, and I have a lot to say about that. But I know we're talking about Winnie the Pooh right now, I'll bring it back to Winnie.
Actually,
because Rue is the character.
Yeah,
you're gonna bring this up anyways.
So. Actually, let's. I would like to save that for a different time because I actually wanted to get into it.
Okay.
Because that's a very hot topic right now that I would love to talk about, and there's a lot of stuff going on with that, especially because he's black. There's a lot. There's a lot of different intricacies and what's the word I'm looking for? Identities, intersectionality in her stuff. But yeah, no. The way you talk about your clients, I assume that many of your clients, if they don't know, they're definitely going to be neurospicy. There's going to be some neurodivergence and probably some, on the spectrum there too, because the way they're interacting with the books.
Yeah.
And right, it's the same thing that folks that listen to our podcast. We're just doing it with the movies and shows. And so it's a blessing to have you on, to know another neurodivergent individual, another person on the spectrum, just straight out. I'm going to do my best to push you to some other awesome people of color out in New York that I think you should talk to. For me, for a book,
Thank you. I definitely need community.
Yeah, for me, for a book, I don't even know. I never really read any books when I was young because I hated reading. And then in graduate school, she was like, "Nah, you got to read." So my first book that I actually read, I swear to promise you, first was in graduate school, and it was All the Light You Cannot See, that one of the biggest books in history, and won the Pulitzer Prize and a book of the year, and it was #1 selling for 5-6 years. So I randomly dove into that. Huge mistake because it was so long. But it was magnificent. And that started the next 3 years of just reading back, getting obsessed and back to back to back to back to back books. Then came me giving students books and prescribing books. Then came to me, we're going to read this in session books. There's a few clips from a few books that I have people read all the time. And I flip through it. I act like I don't know where it's at, right? And I hand it to the student. Read this out loud. I got some poetry in my office that students have wrote. It sits in my office about being black and brown, things like that, about being a woman. And I'll have them read it out loud. And then what does that mean to you? So it's magnificent. So I've been doing this thing I didn't even know. And then now it looks like it's a real thing. It's bibliotherapy. And it looks like it's a thing amongst our population. Not only folks that are on the spectrum, but also black and brown bodies. This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing amongst black and brown bodies for sure. Pretty cool.
Yeah. How old were you when you read All the Light We Cannot See? Because that's 544 pages and it's a war story.
Bruh. So that was in graduate school. So that was 2016. So I was 20 something. That was the 100%. I read it through and through. Magnificent.
Wow.
Magnificent book. It was kind of tough at times because some of the shit was in French. I was like, really? We're doing French now?
Por favor.
Por favor?
Why do you think you persisted?
Because I needed
Why
to
do you think you persisted?
I needed to do better at reading because I needed to do better at my notes and writing. Because I needed to do better at it because my boss said you're going to cost someone their life or their children if your notes aren't tight. They're just going to get taken to court and subpoenaed. And if it doesn't get better, you're going to fuck something up. And so that's the only reason why I changed, because he said other people's lives are at stake, Nazir, and you got to do this. And I was like, yes, ma'am. I love you and I trust you and I'm going to do what you said. So I shifted because it's never really about me. It's about others. When others are at stake, and Spencer knows this, when others are in danger, that's when I act. That's when I jump. If it's about me, I'll let some shit slide. It's fine. I'll just sit in the bed, be lazy. But now you're telling me that, I've got a responsibility. Well, I'm not letting anyone down. So,
your whole tone changed. You started talking about this book. The glasses came off. The face the affect got real serious. The tone got serious. And I just looked up the book because I forgot that this book is about a blind French girl and a German boy.
Yep.
Who become friends during World War II. So it's interesting, that connection. Your advisor tells you, hey, lives are at stake. And then you connect with this book. Right book at the right time.
Right book, right time. It was the #1 thing. I just took it the #1 thing. I said, if everyone else says it's good, it's got to be good. Because I don't know what the fuck I want to read. And I don't like reading. So if the people said, all right, as my father knows, he's trained me into, if other people suggested or recommend it, then try it. You go to a restaurant and, and everyone else is eating this one thing, you should probably eat that one thing. Don't order the fucking chicken tenders and be autistic as hell.
The tendies. Where are my tendies?
We had a Chinese restaurant. You got chicken tenders?
Deep fried. Real good. Crispy.
Story of my life, y'all. Sometimes I'll pack our own chicken tenders from home just so that my son can make it through.
Girl, they ship with dinosaurs.
We love you here. This is a safe space
Hey,
for autism.
Oh, it is.
It is. Most definitely.
But yeah, sorry if I did mention, for everyone on the podcast, they know different spectrums. It's solely about autism. Most of our guests are going to be autistic. Me, Spencer, and my buddy that started it, Colin, who's not here because of a baby.
Okay.
It is.
No, it's not.
He's coming back.
He didn't like being here.
He liked
but
it.
Hey, okay.
He loved me, so he came.
He literally would tell you, I don't want to do this. And you're just like, you're doing it. And you're just like, he's not here because of baby.
You got to train autistic people. That's a joke. That's a joke. All right.
No ABA endorsement here.
You know. So let's when we pivot into the show, I don't necessarily want to go scene by scene because that'll take a decent amount of time. I want you to talk about why you picked it. Kind of like go from there. Why'd you pick it? Let's talk about, the scenes in your mind and how they played out. If you want to look at your timestamps, you can as well. But let's kind of do the pivot like that.
Let's do it. Where should we start?
Wherever you want.
Yeah. Why'd you pick Winnie the Pooh? Yeah.
I picked Winnie the Pooh because I love using children's literature with adults in bibliotherapy. I think that we live in a very capitalistic society that's production driven and production obsessed. And so any way that I can help a client reconnect to a sense of adventure and play and honestly to their childhood parts is really beneficial therapeutically, because I feel like for a lot of us, childhood wasn't happy-go-lucky. There's a lot of trauma for some of us when we think about our childhood, and for some adults it's really painful to even think about that inner child part. I've had clients where I'll say can you paint me a picture of your inner child? What are they wearing? What are they doing? And it's immediately the tears will flow, because it's one, I don't want to see that, or two, it's too painful to go back to that place. And so using literature, children's books, children's cartoons is such a fun way to get clients to revisit that part of themselves. And it's also a way to get our defenses to come down, because now we're just talking about the characters on Winnie the Pooh. We're not talking about, your abusive dad or the chaos of your household. We're just talking about that small moment of time where you could come home from kindergarten and turn on the TV and be a child, right? And so that's really why I picked Winnie the Pooh, because this is one of my favorite childhood stories. And one of the things I forgot to tell y'all when you first asked me about becoming a poetry therapist, bibliotherapist, is that my aunt who babysat me growing up was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Wow. And so I'm someone, both of my parents were teen parents. My mother had me at 15. She was shipped off to Puerto Rico. My father enrolled in the Army because he thought he'd be able to provide. He gets addicted to cocaine and then eventually crack cocaine in the Army. My mom's in Puerto Rico. I don't know who she is. So my grandmother is raising me, and she's an elder in the community. And my grandmother, even though she wasn't a social worker, she was very much a social worker, a community organizer. We went to church 6 days a week. She's working full time. So she would leave me at home with my aunt, Yvonne. And I talk a lot about this in my book. This was the hardest part for me to write, because I feel like people love to pathologize. And the reality of it is that as a little girl, I knew my aunt was different, but I didn't think she was dangerous. And she was never a harm to me. And so one of the ways that we bonded was through cartoons. And it's interesting now as an adult to look back on it and see how people think Christopher Robin is schizophrenic, because so much of my journey as a little one was learning how to manage my aunt's moods and her ideas of preference so that I could keep her safe. So this is me at 6, 7 years old. My aunt's babysitting me, but really I'm babysitting my aunt. And so Winnie the Pooh has a very special place in my heart, because anytime Winnie the Pooh came on, my aunt was joyful and we would laugh. And I just have so many good feelings attached to this cartoon. And eventually to the book when I learned how to read, because my first grade teacher was she was the first person to get me a library card. Miss Parkins, Benjamin Franklin Elementary School, and she was the first person to actually buy me a Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal. So shout out to Dr. Nas's stuffed animal. And so this just has really special meaning for me, and it got me thinking a lot about community and the relationships that we have that are protective for us. I feel like this group of friends is like a really great gang because they look out for each other. And even when Owl is narcissistic and he's only thinking about his book, or Pooh is just focusing on his honey, you know, like there's a way that when we really need our friends to show up, they fucking show up. And nobody better than Tigger. So Tigger was really my favorite character as a kid because Tigger is about that life. Like Tigger is that friend, like, if you don't like them, I don't like them. If they don't like you, I don't like them. Like Tigger is that ride or die friend. So I just have such an affinity for this gang of characters, and it's really deep for me. So I'm excited to get into the clips.
Awesome.
That was magnificent. So see why maybe we. Hey man, is what it is. If this is just gonna be a long pod, just gonna be a long pod.
Yeah.
Spence, just walk us through the scenes. Just kind of talk about the first one, second one. Let's just kind of walk through it. Fuck it. Let's just do our normal thing, man. Is what it is. I'm in having a good time. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. First one. It's with Christopher Robin. They're all making flyers to help Eeyore find a new tail, right? Or find his original tail, maybe. And then Pooh places them around the woods to recruit help. So in this, with your notes, you said that you wanted to talk about social connection and also emotional support. So you're kind of already talking about that, especially with your friend groups and things like that. Just when you need them, they're there, right? And so, what was your? Do you have like kind of that same clique of friends that like you're always by your side no matter what, that are always going to be with you, and you know you gotta something go down. They go down.
That's right. That's right. I do now as an adult.
Okay.
As a child, I had a whole gang of imaginary friends.
Okay.
And I would call on them for different reasons, but maybe this is like also the autistic part of my brain. I wasn't thinking that they were real. Like I knew that they were in my head,
Right.
but they were still gang. And so whenever shit would go down, like I would just retreat into my inner world. And I think I still do that today through my love of literature. But today as a grown woman, absolutely. Like my friends are my lifeline. I don't have a large group of friends. I'm very like, I have a lot of associates, let's put it that way. Because I think people think social media, like perception is reality, and it's not. Like, don't let the 11K whatever followers fool you. Like, I got 4 friends that I will say are my gang. You know what I'm saying? And like, those are the friends that are in my life every day. If something goes down, I'm there. If something that I need happens, they're there. I most recently, I was nominated for an award with the Bronx is Reading a couple weeks after my best friend's mom passed away. And would you know, she still came to the event. She brought a photographer. She was so happy for me. And when I did my whole little speech, I shouted her out because I was like, I just want y'all to know, like, this is friendship right here. My friend is mourning her mother. And, you know, I have 2 kids, one on the spectrum who has a lot of needs, you know, and I can't always be there for her. I was able to be there for the repast and her mom's services, but, you know, I still get emotional to this day because there were days where I knew she needed me when her mother was in hospice and I couldn't be there in the physical because I would have had to bring my kids, and it just didn't feel like an appropriate time to show up with my kids at the hospital, like, hey, you know, I want to be there for my friends. So that motherhood limited me in that way. And it blew my mind that in my moment of like being recognized by my community, she showed up for me and was like happy to do so. So I feel like that's the same for this group of friends. You know, Eeyore loses his tail and he's kind of like, because that's the thing with Eeyore. He's like, oh, I lost my tail, you know, but he's not saying, hey, y'all, can you help me find my tail? It's his friends that are like, oh, no, we got to get your tail back. Like, hold up. Now we're organizing. We're making signs. Who's going to put them up? And the way that they kind of just like gather around Eeyore, like, don't worry, Eeyore, we got you, cracks me up because Eeyore was otherwise like, whatever, it's just another sad day. And he wants to be very much like in his gloom, his doom and gloom mentality. So it's the friends around him that are like, nah, we got a plan. And I love that.
Yep. I co-sign everything. I'm going to chime in on some other clips.
Okay. All right. So we want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
So we're going to go the scene with Tigger and Eeyore, where Tigger validates Eeyore when he tells him he's been left behind and wishes he could help Christopher Robin, who they believe has been kidnapped by the Baxon. The Baxon.
Back soon.
Yeah. Have you had that experience, with real friends or imaginary friends, it's just, somebody got kidnapped, you gotta do your thing.
That's right. Get the Glock ready though.
We in the Bronx now.
She Latina, so she's stabbing people. I'm sorry.
No guns here.
On deck. You ain't lying.
Where's the chocolate? She gonna throw the sandal?
The chocolate, right? Oh my goodness, my grandmother was so good at that. Her aim was impeccable. The chocolate, even in the grocery store, it would like come over the aisle and still hit me.
Most of the grandparents, they know how to throw shoes.
Yeah.
They know.
It's
Yes,
pause.
they do.
Autistic moment. It's like the anime, My Hero Academia, where there's this lady that shoots bullets from her elbow, and it could. All right, I'm done.
You're such a nerd.
No, I want to hear more. That's really interesting.
Oh, it's cool.
My Hero Academia. It's a show.
I'll send you a clip.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to go full autistic right now. We got a show to do.
Anyways, so validation with friends. I think it's a good thing to do. But then I think some people also get mixed up as just, maybe we're over validating some things where maybe we as friends could tell people a little bit more of like the truth of like what's going on instead of just being like, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, you're right to be, in here. So I kind of want to know your thoughts on that. It's like, is there a type of like over validating your friends, or do you think like maybe we should always just kind of stay in our lane as friends and stay where we are and just be like, yeah, no, you're right.
I think the word would be enabling
that's a great
versus
question.
validating. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it depends on the friendship and like what the relationship can like sustain and hold. Because I definitely have those friends where I'd be like, girl, you are tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, the answer is no, go, stay away, stop, don't do it. And then there's friends where, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. And so I do think that it's a fine line. What do you think, Dr. Nas?
Same. I agree. You if you truly do love someone and you think they are going into a dangerous situation, depending what career, job, love, whatever it is, then you are somewhat obligated. But then also, you're not supposed to give people really advice because that's when they could get mad. And that's where they can turn on you, right? But if you got deep love and connection, then maybe you could. But I advise never to lean into advice giving first. You sit there, you lean in, you support, and then you do what my dad does. Well, have you thought about it this other way?
Right.
Let the volatility come out, let the hostility come out, and then we can get our mind working and figuring it out. Because if you come in hot and heavy with advice, you might not always listen. But, I feel obligated to let you know. I got to say something. But you got to make sure that those people have enough ego strength, like I've heard you say before in your thing today, your story, to be able to take that advice, to heed maybe that advice, to know that you're coming from like love. So it's a difficult position for a friend to be in. But the real ones are going to check you. And I think a lot of people forget that. They'd be like, oh, no, my friend got my back no matter what. I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't sell drugs to kids, Maybe,
Right.
I'm joking on that one. Sorry.
Right.
Are you? You want people to sell drugs to kids? What?
No.
What are you saying here? What are you saying?
Big story. Maybe you shouldn't go back to Johnny Depp, Maybe you should.
Hey, she shit in that bed. All right. I know she did.
Hey, I love a good poo.
Well, but this is real though, because look, how many of us don't say the thing that we know needs to be said to maintain the relationship or to keep the relationship intact, right? Like that's very autistic too. Like when Amanda Seales was on the interview and she shared how people don't deem her to be likable because of her straightforward answers and, you know, her like, you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer, right? Like that may not be likable, but it's the truth.
Yep.
So do we want friends who are going to tell us the truth, or do we want friends who are going to just like
sugarcoat everything?
Go with the flow and sugarcoat everything, right? Because if you're really my friend, like I really value people who who shoot straight from the hip. If anything, that's a very attractive quality to me in a friend. I'm looking for that. I don't want you to sugarcoat it, because based on the advice that you do or don't give me, or your perception of events, that's going to really tell me like how close we can be. And to me, that matters.
Yep.
Does it matter to y'all?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. The what's funny to me in this scene is he's sad and he's down and out. And Tigger's like, he just runs up on him and goes right in his tush. right in it.
He's like,
yeah.
Hello.
It's pretty much reenacting a scene with you and Colin.
You know,
Good to see you again.
You know, hey, any good friend will get up in there.
And we've seen Colin's
you gotta
ass.
see what's going
It's
on.
nice.
You said,
oh wow. Are we talking about like in there? Are we talking about
Well,
like,
you know,
in there?
I'm not gonna say that, you know, some didn't happen in the past, but you know, hey, talk to that guy. Talk to that guy. They slept in the same bed
So
together.
he's giving
That's all I'm
Tigger-
saying.
Hey.
That's all I'm saying.
I just know that he started to wheelbarrow him down. What is going on?
Like, I've done that one.
If you need me, I'll be there.
Literally right there.
Right
You'll
there.
be right up in there, always.
Right up in there.
Like a puppet.
Hey,
A ventriloquist.
I'll talk through you.
Move your mouth now.
Yeah. It also reminds me of me playing offensive line in football and Colin being the quarterback and being just right under, you know, right in there, you know. Right. Real friends know how their friends' balls feel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a part of this scene where they're in like, I don't know where they're in a garden, but it looks like a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And Tigger puts Eeyore on the seat and he's like, listen, bro, like,
We're going to do this.
I wrote it down. He said, buddy, if you're going to pounce, you got to have some bounce.
For real.
We just need to get you Tiggerized. And so it is a very physical,
It is.
you know, interaction. Like, baby, we got to get you ready. Let's energize you, right? Because we know that's also a symptom of depression, is like that psychomotor slowing down. And so Tigger's like, baby, we got to energize you. We got some work to do.
All jokes
so it is a very
aside,
physical.
all jokes aside, this is actually a really good representation of how it could be for some folks with depression. We're going to do some body doubling and we're going to try and maybe, you know, put some lipstick on this pig. Maybe it'll look a little better. I don't know. We're going to see. But maybe we can't change your thoughts right now, but we're going to change some of your actions. And maybe that'll change some of the experiences, which will then change your thoughts, which will then change your beliefs. So it depends on where you're going to start at in that cognitive behavior therapy like pyramid. Right. And so what's he's trying to get him to be too much of what he is, right? This Tigger, but still magnificent on trying to help him out. And it does remind me of some of my friends that are very lethargic and very low mood. It does remind me, Spencer, of Colin and being like, so you're not going to say anything while we're playing video games? And he's like, well, I'm here. And that's enough for him.
It's true.
That's enough, right? And you take your doses in him in his small doses. Doesn't talk much, kind of very low voice, not much energy and spunk to it. But you got to, in spurts though, you'll get it. And so sometimes you got to drag him along to see what he likes and doesn't like, because he is just kind of Eeyore-ish. And I love that about him, because I don't hate that about him. It's who he is. Yeah. So I love Eeyore's characters because a lot of people relate to Eeyore. Yeah. The depression, the lethargy, right? Yeah. The doom and gloom. Almost everything bad happens to me. Me and Spencer just did a podcast on the magnificent movie called The Holdovers.
Yep.
And that actor, what's the main actor's guy's name? The famous guy?
Giamatti.
Giamatti goes, hey, life is shit for a lot of people. And it goes downhill down this ladder real fast. Mm-hmm. So be kind and respectful. Be patient with some of those that are battling like legit depression. Or maybe your autistic friend that's just a little bit quieter, a little bit more introverted. You don't have to force them to be you. Because I would never force my best friend Colin to be me. I would never force Spencer, one of my best friends, to be me. That's not who he is. So I love this scene, and also don't force people. I mean, you can try a few things if they give you consent.
Yeah.
If they give you consent.
Yeah, Eeyore was not giving consent, but I think because they're best friends, like you and Colin and Spence.
Yeah.
Can I call you Spence?
Yeah.
It's like I noticed that it's a habit. I keep
No.
saying Spence. So that's it.
No, I do not like green eggs and ham.
That makes a lot of sense.
I do not like green eggs and ham. Sam, I am. I don't know.
I accept you as you are, and I will never force you to eat or read green eggs and ham.
Thank you. One of the books we should have burned.
We should have banned that one, huh?
Smells disgusting.
Let's talk to one of these Republican governors and say how it's about like queer folk or like black or brown bodies. They'll ban it real quick.
I mean, Dr. Seuss was apparently a piece of shit anyway.
Oh, true. So they got to keep it then.
So,
They got to keep it.
Yeah, no. They're like, you know what? He had made a lot of great points.
He's one of the good ones.
He's one of the good ones.
All right.
I want to ask a question
Go
to
ahead.
y'all about this same interaction though, because when they get in like the proverbial ring and Tigger is like trying to energize Eeyore, he says, "Strike me down and give me all you got." Why do you think he said that? And what does that mean for the way that cognitive rehearsal helps us to prepare for life events or challenges?
So who says that? Tigger said that? Strike me down, or Eeyore said?
Tigger says that. Tigger says that to Eeyore in the ring. He's like pushing him. He's like, "Strike me down. Give me all you got." And so I thought about that in the context of what you shared about you and Colin and playing football together and the different energies you bring to the friendship.
I think that especially as I can speak from like, straight male perspective. We always try to push each other to get to a certain point to where we are competitive with one another, right? And that, it's kind of like something for us that when we see somebody down, we say, well, hey, why don't you come try to like hit me? Why don't you come try to, do something, just so that then you can get your confidence up, right? We see that all the time, especially for those who we think maybe not either like stronger than us, but we want to give them a chance to see if they can actually prove themselves in that moment. And so usually, I mean, especially from what I've, in my personal life, it's just, that's what we kind of are. We kind of always try to push ourselves as men, and especially to kind of see if we can overcome one another, even though we may think like this person can't do it, but we still try anyways, because we think that that's going to bring them up, at least in their confidence or out of their funk. So at least then they're not thinking about this subject. They're thinking about something else. They're thinking about, hey, I'm going to try and get angry instead of sad. And we think that that's going to help them through like their emotions.
That last bit.
That's why I think.
Does it work?
At
In your
times.
experience, does it work?
At times, yes. I mean, you're not thinking about whatever you're thinking about that makes you sad. You're thinking about, what you're trying to do, your next goal, which is usually, isn't that like the point, right? Because if you're in that sad state, you're not thinking about the next thing that you have to do. You're thinking about just now and where you are and how it could get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So it all depends, but.
Yep. I agree with a lot of that. For a small moment of time, if you pivot away from sadness and you go into some anger, I'm cool with it. Especially if you're one of the women that I work with, which you're not really accustomed in gender norms to experiencing anger or feeling anger, allowing anger to show. So maybe we'll pivot into a little bit of that. For my boys, well, we got to back off of that. Also, the come at me or give it all you got. So that's really, in athletics, that's a real big thing. Come on, let's go. One more rep, one more set, one more shot. Hit me. It's not about dominating me. Sometimes just about getting you to muster up the energy. You got this. So it's an affirmation, but also provoking, a healthy provoking is come on. And it could be agitating and they could blow up on you, but a lot of dudes will blow up and then we'll like hug it out or we'll be cool right afterwards. A lot of my women, it's not necessarily the thing, right? Because certain things will be said with the dudes, we'll get in full on fist fights. Like Spencer's met some of my friends from different places, and I told Spencer, he said, "They ain't one of my good friends that I haven't like thrown through a table." And he said, "What?" I said, "You like the only one that ain't gotten like beaten."
I was like, I caught him in the right years of his life.
He caught me in my healing stages. In my healing stages.
I'm like, why? Why'd you do that?
Oh yeah, I don't. I'd come home. My dad'd be like, "What happened?" I was like, "Yeah, I threw another kid to a chair." So, I remember
and
the
then
one.
it bonded you, and you got even closer.
Yeah, we were closer. You know, I had to take some time off, right? You know, but then we got back together. So it's a thing. Maybe he's trying to provoke him in that way. Some emotion is better than none, right? I could see some dudes being like, "Hey, show me something. You gonna die in sadness?" You know,
right.
I've done that with clients too. I will challenge my clients. Didn't matter what gender. Well, you ain't no punk. You ain't, and I'm gonna use the B word. You ain't no bitch. So let's not act like this, right? You are strong, independent, resilient as hell. You fought through so much in your life. Don't tell me you're dying on this hill. It's not where you die.
Mm-hmm.
Your death coming one day.
And you know which clients you can go there with. You know who needs to be spoken to that way and engaged that way.
Yes, and if I'm working with you a decent amount of time, then we're good. All my clients. If we work more than like 4 sessions, then we're good. If I've connected with you soul to soul, we're good. After 4 or 5 sessions, 1 session, I can usually push you towards later in the sessions, you know, because it takes time to, like you said, build that trust. But also I reflect back who they are, and you ain't no punk.
Right.
You ain't
I see that in you. I know that about you. And that's the beautiful thing about the relationship, how we can be a healthy mirror. I think it's powerful coming from a friend, and it's definitely powerful coming from your therapist.
Yep. Good scene. What we got? We got okay, so that knocked out 2 scenes in one. So we got then the owl one.
Yeah.
With the motivational speech and the supposed narcissism.
Motivational. Yes, quote unquote.
I saw that scene as him being a therapist and like geeking up his client to go into battle. This tiny little pig, you know, scared, terrified, right? Can't do shit, social anxiety. And then it goes into a dark forest and you're like, good luck.
See you later.
Sometimes we, as therapists, we send our clients into some weird situations. I'm like, you got this. I'm like, they don't have this.
Yeah. Right. But we need to believe that they have it and tell them that we believe that they have it so that they can at least try. Because we've all been there as clinicians where our client comes back bloodied and bruised. Like, yeah, it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out.
Like, this is some bullshit. I knew this wasn't going to work.
Right. Like, you sent me in there to be eaten by the wolves. But now you have a particular set of information about how wolves work, right? Like, now you know wolves exist, and you don't want to just go into any place. Like, at the end of the day, we still have some useful information about you and about how you need to navigate conflict moving forward.
Bruh,
my arm is gone, Emily. I can't. I learned not to use my left hand to fend them off.
What the fuck you mean? I can't fucking walk. I got useful information. I'm the motherfucker.
I have a nub. A nub.
I'm suing you. I'm suing your family. I'm suing Allah. Fucking.
I'm gonna bring wolves to your house. See how you like it. All right. Let's see if you can fight them off.
But that's just listen.
I'm joking.
I feel like well, safety assessment first, always, of course. But let's be honest. If you're a therapist who has been about that life, you've taken some hits. Like, nobody comes into this work. First of all, most of us become healers because we were deeply traumatized and we figured it out a way, right? To make life meaningful, make meaning out of those experiences and become who we are. And so we know that inevitably you're going to have to take some hits. I don't want to send my client out into the dark. Like I wouldn't have personally sent Piglet out into a dark forest by himself with a little helmet on. I didn't think that was the best answer. But let's be honest, did Piglet do what he came to do? Yes, he did. Piglet, he found the jump rope, and now Piglet could poke out his chest a little bit. Nobody else was going to send him there other than Narcissistic Owl. And look at the outcome.
Hey,
You hate owls.
she hates owls.
Narcissistic
I
ass
really-
owl. That's an X. You know she got an X owl.
Yep,
You know what I'm
she
saying?
did.
No, I don't date narcissists, but I
Well,
have
okay,
had
all
narcissistic clinical supervisors for
Okay.
sure.
Yep.
For
Oh,
sure.
okay.
I've dealt with my share of narcissistic personalities, principals that I've worked for, clinical directors that I've worked for, and they've all been men. So unfortunately, yes, owl does elicit strong emotions in me.
Goddamn penises.
Oh my God.
You know?
I hate them.
I had one guy, I was on an interview for this clinical supervisor position, and in the interview, he says to me, I said something like, "Oh, yeah, but I'm super humble about it." And he was like, "You're way too sexy and attractive to be humble about anything." When I tell you that I almost vomited a little bit in my mouth, I was like, you know what? Thank you. This job
terrible.
is not for me. And yeah, exactly. And this was like, I was a young social worker. This was like 2 years into my career. And I remember bringing this to my therapist, and she was like, "Emily, what did you do?" And I told her, I was like, "I walked out." And she was like, "Good, because that would have been a long road." And I'm glad that you
That's
knew.
really
So
bad.
like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so this like misogynistic,
No.
narcissistic BS.
No.
I don't think Owl would have sexually harassed anybody,
No.
but he definitely cared about asserting his dominance, and he definitely cared about being the superior friend. So yes, I see some relevance there.
Yeah, no, I got you. Jesus, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry for a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
our
terrible.
listeners that are actually
Yeah.
going through it or have been through it. Because our podcast is 80% of women identified individuals. So
I
much
love that you know that. That's dope.
I know a lot of things. My brain is always computing things, and I know too many things when I should probably be focused on like finishing my taxes. So,
It was late
Oh.
this year.
Same,
Shout out to
same.
shout out to IRS.
Hey, keeping it down.
Keeping a brown man down.
Keeping everyone down.
My money, motherfuckers.
Word.
But yeah, shout out to all the women that are listening to this. And I really appreciate them because I know they're going to get a healing from you today, not only from the laughter, but just from the affirming, validating individual person you are, the way your mind works.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people that are going to be like, holy shit, like they're legit just going to heal from you today. And this does actually get to a decent amount of people now as we grow as a podcast. So I promised you I was going to help you promote your book because I saw how you were talking and speaking before, and now I see it now. I'm like, this is one of the good ones. And by one of the good ones, I mean actually.
I need both of your addresses, y'all, so that I can send you guys advanced readers copies.
You
I'd
got-
love to send you copies of the book.
Orders copy. So, well, Spencer's going to need the audio one because he can't read. So
I got you. I got you,
Duh.
Spencer.
Got it.
as my dad says, Tahi.
Tahi.
I'm sorry. I love this pod today, man. And I love him for sure. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I wanted to stick on this because, a lot of my interns are women, and I always find myself preparing them for the next supervisor, right? Because I said, don't ever expect it to be like me. I told one intern recently, I said, if any dude comes up to you like me, I said, I want you to automatically maybe not trust him. And she said, why? But you're awesome and you're this, and this. Yeah, but I operate by different standards, different morals, different ethics. My autism also makes me like this. If someone acts like this and they're not neurospicy, I'd be scared. And so I coach people up on how to handle supervision and narcissism, the dynamics, right? I want it to be. And so kid goes, hey, I'm going to add you on LinkedIn. I said, good. Because no one's fucking with you. And you're a badass therapist. I need to make sure that you make it to the next step. And I ain't letting no dude or no toxic ass like white lady shit on you. Not you. So there's people I
love that so much.
Thank you. There's people I get very protective over. especially when one recently told me something where their next supervisor like has told other interns that work with them about their personal sex life. I was like, no, that is gross, and we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I wish we talked about it more, preparing our interns and our young therapists.
Oh yeah, you got to. All right, as we mosey on down, we got the owl one. Real quick. Owl, they're all neurodivergent. So they're all under the umbrella of neurodivergent, meaning anxiety, OCD, ADHD, autism, it's all there. Schizophrenia, bipolar. So Christopher Robin could be schizophrenic, also just could be autistic. If we're being honest, probably just autistic. If we're looking at Tigger, probably on the spectrum as well. ADHD and the comorbidity of that, right? We're looking at the social anxiety, the hyperfixation of Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh, and right, and the honey, the comfort food, the habituation to it. Also, the ADHD, which can force a lot of us, like me, to overeat, and so your body's always telling you that you're hungry or you're eating it because you're bored, which I suffer from a lot. So there's a lot of autism.
Restricted diet.
Restricted diet. You know.
He only eats honey.
And immediately he's like, I won't be hungry for a while. Immediately hungry. I was like, literally, my body does not know when it's full. Sometimes it'll just be like, you want to eat? You want to eat? I'm like, fuck, I'll eat.
Yeah, especially with like boredom. When I get bored, I'm just like, I should probably eat something. That'll help.
Yeah, that'll help. I got these hot Cheetos to keep me busy. Now and
I
later.
love hot Cheetos. I love hot Cheetos. And I guess we could think of Tigger as stimming.
Yep.
He's always bouncing, spinning. It's always movement. And it's self-regulating for him.
So I wanted to bring some of that up to affirm a lot of folks that find themselves, that listen to the pod, because the pod's going to be a lot of neurodivergent folks and a lot of folks that are therapists or caregivers. If they find themselves in this thing, it makes sense because we're all neurodivergent on this podcast. What's the next one here? It says, this is when Pooh Bear is talking to Eeyore.
Ever have one of those days where you just can't win, Eeyore? Yep, I know how you're feeling.
I feel like that doesn't need a lot of explanation. I feel like everyone can relate to that feeling. We all have those days for many different reasons. Some of my women come in and they have those days all the time. As we know, a lot of women, because of the cycles, 50% or more will experience depression. And one of those days, if you're just a human living in the world, you're going to experience it. Sad, arguments, social, financial. The world is dark and full of terrors right now. We're possibly in our third war as U.S. citizens, right? I mean, it's scary. You have one of those days where you feel helpless and worthless? Yep. Yep. So I just want to say that feeling is very valid for a lot of us, and I think it's okay to feel like that. And both of them, this happy-go-lucky bear that's always eating, is also sad. So I figured that's what you were trying to get at, but yeah, you can go ahead and preach, and then we'll move to the next one.
It's exactly what you said. I feel like with everything that's going on in our world, more of my sessions than usual have been spent in silence or in holding the silent space. And that's new for me because I am a very interpersonal therapist and I've been working with the majority of my clients for so long. So having moments where it's just like quiet in some ways had made me question myself, and it's endearing to hear you talk about your students, because I had a clinical supervisor who I will never forget, Vincent Kalenda. He was my supervisor at the Jewish Board for Children and Families, and then I hired him to work with me as my supervisor when I became a school social worker because I needed clinical supervision.
Yep.
He was the first person to teach me why sitting in silence is so difficult, to help me look at my own socialization, being Black, being Latina, and understanding like that sometimes that's all people need is for us to be with them in their feeling. And sometimes that is the healing, like therapeutic value in being in relationship in the space. And it's so endearing to hear you talk about your student, because I'll never forget the day I had a situation in my second internship where another supervisor tried to accuse me of horseplay with a client in a waiting room and putting my arm around that client's neck. Mind you, it wasn't me. I wasn't even at work that day. But he really stood in the gap for me, held her accountable. And I was so grateful for the way he covered me. But then he pulled me aside afterwards in his office and he said, Emily, it's time for you to become a woman. You're no longer that little girl. And I remember being like a little bit offended at first, like, damn, Vincent never spoke to me like that before. He was like, I'm saying this to you because when you enter the field, you may not have another me. Yep. Like nobody's going to be out here, ensuring a level of safety for you, looking out for you. Like this is a part of the work is you can't hold the space from somebody else until you can own the space yourself, right? And so learning how to be an alchemist in that way required me to grow up emotionally. And I guess I'm bringing all this up to say that like, even now at 38, I've been doing this for 14 years. I still struggle with feeling like that's good enough in my clinical work. But lately something has shifted for me where I realized like how many of us don't ever get to experience somebody just sitting with us in our anxiety and our fear and our doubt and our uncertainty. Like, yep. And I've had more clients be able to emote when we've had a period, let's say of like 5, 10, 20 minutes of silence, just by being able to experience what it is to sit quietly. Does that make sense?
Yep. A lot of folks on the spectrum just need someone to process with, parallel process. And so maybe there's not a huge major issue in that week, but there's a lot of processing that needs to happen throughout the day so they can regulate that way they can throughout the week or 2 weeks. So they can go back and do what they need to do. So in those moments, the processing may be the silence. I was thinking about something, this might have come off narcissistic. I did a podcast Friday, just me. She just wanted to interview therapists of color and like their healing journeys. And she brings up, shout out to the I'm Human podcast. It was a magnificent woman that led that podcast. Awesome voice. I hated her. Awesome voice. I said, your voice is so beautiful. It's like the best podcasting voice I've ever heard. I was like, I immediately am offended. I'm not jealous. I'm offended.
Well, now you just offended me, asshole. Jesus.
No, I said you were just as good as her. I said, or
well,
she was
did you? You didn't just say it now, did you?
I didn't say it now, but I said it then.
Want to talk about narcissism? Ah,
yeah, another man. And white man enters the room.
I knew you were going to take it there.
I had to. She says, what about you when you get like insecure, you feel like you're not doing good or this or that, or, I was like, I'm going to be real with you. I ain't insecure about shit when it comes to my job. She was like, what? And I got complete
respect. I love it.
Well, it comes off a little weird. And I said, it's going to come off a little weird. And I said, but pay attention. To doubt myself is to doubt my supervisors and all the magnificent women and one dude that has had my back. It'd be to doubt my father that has taught me everything. So to doubt myself is to doubt them. I do not doubt them at all. I have complete 100% faith in how I was trained and made to do this job. So I'm good. I know I'm doing awesome work every single day, even if we don't say much. If the fact that I just made them laugh a little. And that's really how I gauge my therapy sessions. Did we laugh a little? Did I make things a little less heavy? And it's always a yes.
Yeah.
But I rarely get in my own insecurities because I've had so much training and supervision and affirming. My clients tell me I'm awesome. My students tell me I'm awesome. The outreach and the brown people tell me I'm awesome. The women tell me I'm awesome. So if I got all these people that I trust and love, all the queer folk tell me I'm awesome, that means I must be doing okay. And I'll pivot and say this one thing. Not all my coworkers think that I'm awesome, but that's because I don't put on the show for them because I could give two shits about them. I'm here for the clients and the kids.
I relate to that.
Clients and the kids.
Yes.
Well, hey, Naz, you didn't do this or that, or you're inappropriate. I said, that's why my students love me. That's why when they come to group therapy, they stay and they leave yours. That's why I have the highest retention rates and the high satisfaction rates. I wonder what it is that I'm doing different than others. So I told her, I said, I wanted to clear this up because people are going to see that pod and they may think I'm an asshole in that moment. Everyone that listens to me knows that I'm not. But I have faith in Sharon and Dr. Ruth and my father, Sam, Jerry from Flint, Michigan. I have faith in all these people Yeah. So I just wanted to say that to clear up something from a pod that's going to drop later in the month.
Yes, I can't wait to listen. Thank you for sharing that because I feel the exact same way. I feel like it wasn't until creating a social media presence that I started to doubt myself because people were
Facts.
perceiving me to be something that I'm not. And I was telling someone this on a recent podcast too, because she was like, how do you feel about all these new people coming up doing bibliotherapy, trying to like copy your style, so to speak? I was like, I love it because they can't copy my style. Like, no, anybody can do bibliotherapy, but they can't do it like me. Just like I can't do it like them, And I don't think that that's arrogant. I think that that's real because, like, I know I'm a great therapist. I know because of the outcomes my clients have had. I know because I have clients that come back 5-10 years later, right? Like, I don't need any validation that says like stamp of approval because, like you just shared, like it's the outcomes of the work. And it's the real results that we see in real time. I don't feel like I have to convince anybody that bibliotherapy is a modality that's effective. I don't give a shit what evidence-based, studies show or don't show. This is not something that can be quantified. This is a very internal way of relating that helps to draw people out in their most authentic present self. I feel like it's the art of helping people to feel at home in their own bodies, right? And like I'm a master at that. You can sit me down with the most reluctant client, and we're gonna do some good fucking therapy.
Oh, I can
whether
tell.
we're reading or not.
Oh, I can tell.
And I love that. So I love that you answered that question that way because we need more Black therapists moving with that kind of confidence and that kind of clarity. And I'm getting there. And I feel like part of it is I'm coming out with a book, so I kind of have to. Like I'm gonna have to really start, speaking about what I do and how I do. But I appreciate that a lot.
I need you to owl up. I need you to owl up.
Hoot hoot. Hoot hoot.
Hoot hoot.
Hoot hoot.
Hooty hoot.
Can you guys tell me, is this something that you guys decided, by the way, before the podcast started that we were gonna hoot? Or is you guys do the hoot all the time?
I just did it.
We just did it.
Oh, the whoop whoop, you mean?
Oh, the
whoop
whoop.
The whoop whoop.
That's been here since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But the hoot hoot, no.
The hoot hoot. Hoot hoot's an owl. Whoop whoop. That's just us. Yeah. That was a transition thing.
So hoot hoot can be our thing.
Hoot hoot.
Yeah, sure.
Hoot
Hoot.
Get your narcissistic owl on. Get your
hooty hoop.
Now that we just said owl, like the only thing I can ever think of is pigeons. And as soon as I think of pigeons, I think of Friday and smoking in the pigeon coop.
Honestly, though, you say any bird, he's just like pigeon. Pigeon.
Facts.
You're like, a bald eagle. It's like, that's just a pigeon with the brown and white colors. It makes no sense.
I convinced one of my students on a field trip to whenever she said there was an airplane, because she loved pointing out airplanes, I convinced her that there was pigeons.
That's hilarious.
She's like, no, it's a pigeon.
We have pigeons all over. Pigeons all over. The pigeon that will land on your shoulder, will crap on your face. Welcome to New York City. We got all the pigeons.
Well, and odd pigeon shit too.
Pigeon. So let's get this last scene.
For sure.
So it's just Christopher Robin, right? Kind of vibing.
Is it where Pooh finds the tail and brings it to Christopher Robin to put back on Eeyore?
Correct. So I was going to kind of skip over the owl one and then kind of go into his. So when I look at that scene, instead of like introducing the whole scene to make it a little bit quicker, I want to go towards the end where he realizes that he sacrifices his hunger and him eating, and he withstands from it, that impulse, the addiction, right? The need. He faces his midbrain trying, hey, you need to eat or you'll die. So, and then he does it for his friend to get of his tail. So some friendships you'll do that. There's some people that are weird that are my friends, and but some of them, like when things come to literally life or death, protecting me, my father, my brother, they always show up. They always show up and say, Naz, how do you? I'd get lucky with all these friends, but maybe I just opened up my heart and I found these friends. But most of my friends are trauma bonds. Spence caught me on the healing journey, so we just playing basketball.
Yeah. Didn't catch you on that one.
Yeah, you didn't catch us on any other side shit. And it's just magnificent to know that you got Ride or Dies. And I told Spence that podcast that just released. It's just sad because a lot of people don't have friends these days. A lot of folks that are
not real ones anyway.
Not real ones, but also just think about autism. A lot of us are very isolated and alone. We feel very othered. And so it's just hard for us to make a network of people. And usually when we do, it's other autistic individuals. And so I love this scene because it's all these neurodivergent folks that love each other. And I just hope and I pray that people can find their people like this, like me and Spencer have throughout all our lives, like Em has found out throughout your life. I just wanted to say that. Continue to look for your friends. Don't give up. They're there. There has to be good people out there because you're alive and you're existing in front of us. You're listening to us. So there has to be more good people because you're here. And if there isn't, then I need you to go be one. So that was my 2 cents on that clip.
Yep.
Why did
Well, first of all, we're
Yeah.
friends now. So I'm letting you guys know that. And
Sure.
second of all,
Sure.
I
I
picked
need like
this
$100
clip because
real quick.
I get
I'll bring it
paid
back to
on.
you next week when I get paid.
Do not pay me back though, because that's a quick way to end the friendship. So I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to that.
I'll give
But
you my
I just
cash app.
love that, like, the whole time Pooh he has this need. His tummy is rumbling the entire movie, and it's like they keep teasing him, like, oh, Pooh gets the honey. No, Pooh doesn't. Like at one point, the balloon got the honey, and then it just sounds like the balloon ain't eating the honey. Like I just felt so, like this indignant, righteous anger for Pooh, who's like really hungry and nobody cares and nobody's paying him any attention. So the fact that we would get to the end of the movie and then this narcissistic owl had the tail the whole time and wasn't even mindful enough to realize that, hello, that's Eeyore's tail. But that Pooh recognizes it and like immediately, first of all, it's hard to call out a narcissist. Any of us who have worked with narcissists, or especially if you've had a narcissist as a boss or a clinical supervisor, you know how fragile their ego is and you know how hostile they can become when you challenge them. So it's very tricky to call a narcissist out because it's going to end up like one of y'all is going to have to die. Period. That's how nasty, narcissists can get. So I love how Pooh right away in his like gentle, sweet way was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's my friend Eeyore's tail. And it was attached to him and we need to get that back to him. Like he does it in this very like gentle, but also like stop with the shenanigans, stop with your, memoir, stop with the honeypot. Like I'm going to go bring my boy his tail back. And I just love that because for the most part, it's like a way that we stand in defense for our friends and how natural that can come to us when we love a friend deeply and we're going to advocate for them, that where sometimes it's hard for us to do that for ourselves. Like, I know that's true about me. Like sometimes I may tolerate more than I should to keep the peace with people, or I might hide aspects of myself or my needs and I think a lot of Black women do this. It's another reason why a lot of Black women don't get identified as being autistic, right? Like our entire socialization process is one that rewards our masking and our caregiving and caretaking. So I may not always feel the impulse to stick up for myself right away. I'm far more likely to like freeze and then like try to make up a plan in my head of what the best exit strategy is or what the best response would be. But when it comes to my friend, like if you fuck with my friend, oh, you're going to see a side. Like that's when the Bronx comes out. That's when I'm like, oh, hell no. Like you do not fuck with my friend. And so I feel like we see that, period. Okay. And even worse than that, because she ain't really about it, but that's a whole nother podcast episode. But when it comes to my friends, you'll see that part of me and it won't be pretty and we'll have a problem. What about you, Spencer? Can you relate?
No.
He's what we call bitch made.
And now I'm Black.
I'm
finally Black. It's snowing. The hell? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely can. I mean, yeah, I remember one time me and Nas were playing basketball and couple of track kids, I think they're track or baseball,
Soccer.
something like that. Soccer, even worse. Um, they I don't know, they were getting a little too aggressive, and Nas Nas, he's a big guy, so he plays physical, and so they were getting very agitated at that, and they started talking shit, and especially to Nas, and I was ready to fight them. I was.
I
I'm
was shocked.
sure.
Yeah. I'm not a big like, especially if you're playing basketball and it's my friends and stuff. I'm cool with you talking shit to me because I can just come right back at you with talking shit. But when it comes to like my friends and stuff, and we're playing the game fairly, we're doing everything fine, and then you just running your mouth, and I'm just like, okay, well, we can fight now if you want. That's fine. I
Mhm.
know I can take you.
Yeah.
You're a little soccer player. I'll fucking
It
throw
was,
you around.
and I'm a staff person, so I
That's that
can't
black. That's the black side. That's the black side.
give him a day. It's funny because I couldn't say anything because I'm a staff person and a therapist. So I just put my head down and walked away. And Smith's like, fuck you. And I'm like, oh, Smith, calm down. Calm down. I ain't getting fired for your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like one instance where, I'm very protective. Friends and family, always going to be protective.
Protective of his
My mom,
mama.
especially, very protective of her. And so anybody who wants to talk shit to anyone who I know, who I'm very caring for, I'm always going to be there to stick up for them, even if they can handle themselves perfectly fine. I'm still going to be there to, talk this shit.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spence, I got something for you, man. So we're gonna do a pivot as we're wrapping up here, and we I'm sorry, but we got to talk about this.
What?
When you see Eeyore put his tail on and he's getting these different positions, right? And then, so tell me why instantly I just thought of all the people. I'm not even gonna say what gender. I thought of all these people on Instagram just showing their ass off. Hey, do your thing, make your money, right? Show it off. But I'm also like, so this doesn't get blocked. This doesn't get blocked from Instagram, but God forbid I show a clip about an autistic kid, and then I get copyrighted and blocked, and my shit doesn't get promoted. But then we sexualize so much stuff, and so when I saw his tush out there, and I'm like, wow, this probably would have sold instantly. But me and M talk about emotions and love and connection and narcissism. Oh, that doesn't go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all what's popular now. It's like, what's going to get those likes? Booty shorts.
Let me just bend right over and look at you.
It's effective though. It's so effective. Like I've seen therapists do this too, where it's like you're a therapist, you have a public therapy page, but let's say you go to vacation on Puerto Rico, now you post like the bikini pic and it's like, oh, self-care. Watch them likes and those follows just like skyrocket, right? And like I tell my husband that all the time because I'm like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I know if I did it, I'd be seen more. I'd get more. I'd probably make more book sales, right? Like, but that's not who I am. So I can't do it. Don't get me twisted. I'm definitely for my book tour. I'm already getting my outfits ready. I know who I'm gonna have braid my hair. Like I'm really gonna show up and show out. I got 2 kids under 5, and I never get to go nowhere. So when I do step out, I step out. But baby, you will never find me in a bikini on Literacy NYC talking about self-care, self-love, read these books. So again, you're absolutely right.
It was funny.
And it goes to show what the priority is. Like, man. But I low-key love this for Eeyore though, because that little shimmy when he shakes his booty, like he was feeling himself and he knew that he was back. He's like, baby, I'm back.
I'm back.
So we could look at it both ways.
I don't know. And me personally, I think, and this is just me talking, I think sometimes that also takes away the validity of your therapy in some ways. That's me personally, because I feel like if you, like, you're just trying to seek attention, and I know that's also you're trying to get like more followers and stuff like that. That's fine. But I feel like when you're in the mental health field, you should play it safer, in my opinion, no matter what gender you are, no matter what, because you want to be seen as professional. You also want to make sure that mental health is also seen as a serious topic, right? And yes, we incorporate jokes and things like that in all of our shows. But at the same time, we also stick to what we're supposed to.
Yeah.
We have those serious moments. And sometimes it feels like maybe some of these people don't really stick to that and they're just there for their narcissism, for themselves, and they're not there for the patients or the clients.
So this is where I was going with this. And so I'm not going to hate on everyone that does this, right? If that's your thing in your page or it's fitness, do your thing. Sometimes it gets a little polluted. I get angry because not because of what they're doing, because that's what sells and I know it. And then, right, it's hard for us to buddy-duddy looking dudes because we're not like this drop dead aesthetic gorgeous, right? Because there's a lot of aesthetics that go into
What
this.
you mean? You guys are drop dead gorgeous. Come on now. Don't undermine yourselves. Okay, y'all got the swag, but I'm gonna let you continue. Go ahead.
You must like potatoes because that's what I look like. So
I forgot to grab a potato.
Puerto Ricans like potatoes, huh? Okay. What type
We like plantains.
Plantains. Well, I'm potato. So
or plantains, as some people want to correct me on.
And I think it's funny though, because I'm not knocking all of it, but it is interesting when some folks, maybe if it's eating disorder based and body positivity, I get it. Besides the point, I think it's really funny to talk about pop culture and how everyone's trying to hypersexualize everything, even from a young age. And look at Eeyore. He gets the thing on his tush and they said, "Are you happy now?" Nope.
No.
So after he got done showing his tush off and looking good, right, he said, "Are you happy now?" No. And so I thought about how people on social media, you think everyone's happy just because they're super attractive or showing off or 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, 100,000 followers. Doesn't mean they're happy. We see people committing suicide every day. We see people committing horrible crimes and acts and every day. So I'm doing this to spread awareness on, be cautious on social media. Not on what you're posting, but be cautious and don't be mean to people on social media. You know, they're battling their own shit too, you know, and I tell everyone this, no one's really fucking happy. No one's happy all the time. That's fake. That's fake. No one's happy all the time.
Yeah.
So I thought about Eeyore and I thought about, you know, the funniness of showing his tush off. And are you better now? No. And I was like, that makes so much sense for so many of my clients. Hey, Naz, you told me to do this, 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 and this, and I'm still kind of sad. I'm like, fuck. Well, let's try a couple other things. It happens, folks. So you don't always have to be happy. We're not preaching that. We're not pushing that. And it's okay to be kind of Eeyore-ish if that's your vibe. It's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the way that you brought that full circle, because he says no, but he follows it up and saying, but I like my new tail. So it's like, no, I'm not happy, but like, I like this moment where we're connected, where you guys showed up for me, where you found my new tail and now it's back on. And I feel like that's really what living a good life is about, right? It's like being fully present in those moments. We only get them in pockets. But if we can truly be present in those moments where we do feel joy, where we do feel connection, we can remember that and hold on to that presence, to that feeling in the moments that don't feel so great.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that you brought that up.
You're welcome. All right, Spence.
Long story short, Eeyore got that BBL. All right, so
hey, as Tigger did.
Well, we got to quote Tigger directly. Buddy, if you're gonna pounce, you got to have some bounce.
Well,
Eeyore got his bounce back.
Found that ass. All right. Anyways, one question before we leave. As a bibliotherapist, as a woman of color from the Bronx, how does it feel to also be an author and also just what are you kind of going through when you're going through all this, you know?
Yeah, I feel very grateful. It's allowed me to connect with people like you. I wouldn't have probably connected with you otherwise, because I'd be raising my kids and reading. My life is very small, and so this has opened up my world tremendously, and it's very humbling. It's also scary because sometimes people want to put you on a pedestal, and I don't want to be on anybody's pedestal. Anybody can do what I've done if you just show up. Like, all I did was create a private practice, create a public platform, that I allowed to grow organically over time by showing people who I was. And honestly, if my son wasn't diagnosed and I didn't have my daughter in 2020 and I didn't have to navigate the journey of raising a Black son with a disability in this world, I don't know that I would have been brave enough to create Litherapy NYC, and to do what I'm doing. So I'm just so humbled and grateful, and my life has become fuller and fuller through this journey. And I hope that people read the book and connect with, my story in a way that helps them on their healing journey, especially for moms raising autistic children, especially for moms raising Black autistic children. Like, there are so many of us doing this work of child rearing in isolation. When I started sharing that my son was autistic, I started getting a lot of people reaching out to me, like on the DL, like through Facebook messages, emails, like, oh my God, my child is autistic too. And I remember being flabbergasted because I'm like, we grew up together, we went to school together. Like, why didn't you say something, And I think there's a tendency to want to like hide our children.
Yep.
Sometimes it is shame, because society will say to moms, well, like, what did you do? Or what did you eat? Or what vaccination did you give your child to make them autistic, right? There's like a whole narrative that gets put onto moms specifically. But then also there's the fear, the very real fear of raising a child who is neurodivergent in a very racist, ableist world that is clearly just becoming more and more violent. And so I feel like there's this need to want to like cling to safety and isolation, but we can't do that. We need community in order to raise our children, and we need community in order to raise our children well and to be well for our children. So I hope in telling my story, not just like my clinical journey, but my personal story, that people will be encouraged and motivated to find community for themselves and, to honor our neurotypes, because I wouldn't be who I am without mine.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Very well said.
Magnificent.
Very well said. Yes. All right. So the book is Bibliotherapy in the Bronx. Releases April.
Oh, dude.
Can you pre-order it anywhere right now?
So pre-orders open up June. At the end of June, I'll be announcing my cover reveal, and pre-orders will be opening up as well. So I'll be announcing both of those things simultaneously, and I can't wait. I'm in the process now of cover design. I get 3 mock-ups from 3 different artists, so then I get to pick which one I like the best, and I'm excited about that. So I'll be announcing it, in almost 2 months, a month and a half.
Okay.
Wow. Amazing. And then do you also want to plug anything else before you go?
You can book me on my link tree on my website, litherapynyc.com, for bibliotherapy sessions if you're interested. And I also have a free book club on Fable. Anybody can join. Fable is an app. You can download it. Readers Who Run with the Wolves, also linked to my link tree. That's completely free, and it will give you a taste of how I run my book community. And then I also have a book community. It's a I can never say that word. Subscription-based book community for therapists, librarians, and teachers, and just readers. And that's $5.99 a month. I post bi-weekly bibliotherapy features, and I share a little bit about the ideal client the book would be for, how I'm using it in therapy, and then I provide a monthly book recommendation list as well. And that gives you direct access to me, so that if you are someone who wants to incorporate bibliotherapy, or you need recommendations for your clients, for your classroom, you have me to help you out with that.
All right. Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Fantastic guests. Definitely going to have you back on at some point. Yeah. All right. Calm down there, bud.
I appreciate
Thank you so much for going with us on this. And yeah, go check out all the plugs for Emily Rumble. This has been Different Spectrum Podcast. I'm Spencer. That's Nas.
All right, everyone. Much respect and much love. And remember, take care of yourselves.
Or don't.
That's completely up to you. Peace.